iRacing has become a driving force in esports in recent memory, but at the core, it's all about racing with some friends. Tonight on Pit Stop TV, we welcome the Untitled Friend League for the UFL Elite Series Daytona Duels. Top points finishers from last season are locked into the big show. Jake Fisher is locked into pole position, but the rest have to race for their starting spot in next Wednesday's 120 lapper at Daytona. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV and Zach Murtis alongside, and it is truly a privilege to welcome you all to the debut of UFL coverage for us this evening. And we do so, of course, from the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, ready to go for two 30-lap duels at a classic, the 2.5-mile Daytona International Speedway. There are few places that beat opening a season as far as the site to do so than Daytona. There's few better places to do it. And Zach, NASCAR Next Gen cars, we're opening up the new year, the new racing season. It's February 1st. The Daytona 500 is right around the corner. We're doing pretty much the same thing here on iRacing with UFL. It all begins tonight.
Absolutely. It's going to be amazing. If anybody's seen the Next Gen car race on iRacing on these super speedways, it's definitely way different than the Gen 6 car. Obviously, you're still running with the pack race and the lanes are a little bit different. But it's definitely going to be an amazing show. We got a lot of high talent in this in this race tonight. A lot of great faces that you probably see running this race or even running in the Trucks or Xfinity come the next few weeks at Daytona. It's definitely going to be amazing. And I do want to say real quick, it is February 1st. Happy birthday, Dad, if you're watching tonight.
Well, there you go, and the lap record here in qualifying conditions for the NASCAR Next Gen vehicle, it's a 46.942. These guys are lapping faster than that, of course, in the draft. And, well, the good news is qualifying's already wrapped up. We ain't got to worry about it anymore, as Jake Fisher will lead us to the green flag next Wednesday. But let's finish up with the track map. Let's talk about the schedule for this season. Daytona, it opens us up next week on February the 8th. Then it's Auto Club, Las Vegas, and Rockingham to finish opening the season, that opening third. Then Atlanta, Circle of the Americas, Phoenix, and Martinsville, kind of the middle portion. And by then, we're playoff racing as well, over to Talladega, North Wilkesboro, Kansas, and the season finale at Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 10th. We'll talk more about that next week. Tonight, it's just about the duels as we get ready for race number one, duel number one, heat number one, if you will, ready to come to us live here from Daytona. Zach, glad to have you once again, as I mentioned. You have some racing pedigree. You do race legend cars, and we have a lot of true racers in this field. Oftentimes we talk about these iRacing leagues, and it is pretty much just sim racers, but we're going to see a lot more of the same names that you see on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays in the NASCAR series this year, and who knows, on local short tracks and everything in between in 2023. First off, let's just join right in here with Corey Heim in car 11. Let's go on board as he gets up onto the racetrack right at that blend line and begins his qualifying run. Now, these guys did qualify actually a few minutes ago, about 30 minutes ago. They did run qualifying just to set the outside pole, I believe, for, well, really, who's locked into the top starting spot for Daytona. But they now have to re-qualify for their starting spot in the duels before we actually go racing here for 30 laps.
See a lot of these guys, how they qualify at super speedways. You're going to see it a lot with a lot of these drivers, especially Corey Heim right here starting his qualifying lap. He's going to take a high line for his first lap. It's going to be his throwaway lap. He's just going to run all the way around the outside of the racetrack. He's going to build up as much speed as he possibly can, sitting in fourth gear, letting those RPMs get up as much as possible. He might run fourth all the way around. Honestly, I don't know. A lot of guys like to do fourth or fifth with these next-gen cars, but he's going to run that whole top line around this racetrack, and then once he gets back to the start-finish line, he's going to cut that race car right down to the bottom lane, and he's going to rip it around that double yellow line to run as fast as possible around the super speedway.
And worth talking about the weather conditions for this session: 77.8 degrees in the air, 80 degrees on track. Of course, being that it's a night race, no sun in the sky, it's going to stay nice and cool. That's not really going to have an impact, but it will have an impact as to how much power these cars make. Cooler temps, you can sometimes make better power, but really kind of mild today, especially for Daytona. Down to the line, Corey Heim for lap number one. Of course, lap one, he's building that speed, building that momentum across the line, and he will go just fifth place. We'll move around the field a little bit. Leighton Sabile fastest that lap. And you'll see there are red number boxes in the ticker this evening for drivers that were in the top 20 last season in the point standings. They are already locked into Daytona. The rest of these guys, they have to race in with the exception of car 84, Jake Fisher. Those are all considered your open cars so far, and Matt Kemp is one of them. He just went to second.
Yeah, these times are going to be really, really close. As you can see, the top 5 is all within half of a tenth. Just half a tenth. That's just super speedway qualifying for you, Andrew.
Very close times as Cody Williams comes on down to turn number 4 this time. We'll ride on board of him. And he's even going to try and dip down onto the apron a slight bit, try to close up that lap time, but it's just not going to be enough. He will go no faster, it looks like, on that second lap. Corey Heim up to 3rd. Matt Kemp stays in 2nd. Raja Karuth up to the 5th spot, and he's going to have some fun after the line as well. Elliot Henderson comes across in 7th, and we've got more cars ready to go. How about Tyler Payne in car 6? This should be renumbered to car 18, I think, after this evening, but growing pains sometimes.
Well, it was actually 18 on the car.
Yes, but yeah, as far as scoring, they're considering him car 6. I think that's just a little hiccup. Christian Eckes across the line. He will go 8th quick in his brand new Bill McAnally, number 19. Preston Pardis up to 4th.
These times are all starting to jump around. We've only got about a minute and a half left in qualifying, and we still got a ton of cars on track still trying to make a lap.
And here's Jake Fisher, who went to pole in the qualifying session, at least 4 pole position for the duel. Can he do it again? That's a very quick lap time and ties Leighton Seville. Literally 0.000 across the line. That's all the way down to the 10,000th mark for Jake Fisher. And I bet Leighton wishes he could have done that in qualifying.
That's a little insane.
You don't see that every day. No, you don't. Eric Hagg on track. The Firelight Esports, number 89, goes 12th quick for Duel 1 qualifying. Jay Cook now on track as well. In fact, he's going to come across the line this time and wrap up his run across the line. It's a 50.091. It's quick, but not quick enough to go any faster than 17th spot, just ahead of Tyler Payne. There are plenty of other drivers, it looks like, that are opting not to qualify. Here's the list of them. Matt Wishart, Joel Smith, Aaron Smith, Colin Fern, Nick Olson, Dylan Smith, John Bower, Tristan Hagenstein, Sean Farr, Austin Moore, and Peter Acumano, it looks like. The slew of drivers, I want to say 11 drivers or so, that are opting not to turn a qualifying lap in this session. Well, this is it. Ready to go racing for the first time this season for UFL and their 5th season of racing in their Elite Series. Zach, are you ready?
I am definitely ready. Going racing on the high banks of Daytona. We are looking at an all-star lineup of drivers. You've got guys from the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, from ARCA, from the lowdowns of legend cars like myself, late models, everywhere in between. Even Preston Pardis, who runs Miata's MX-5s, who just raced this past weekend at Daytona. It's going to be an absolutely insane amount of racing as we're getting ready to start duel number 1 here in just a second.
Duel 1 lineup coming at you on pole. It'll be Leighton Seville in car 25. And, I mean, what a strong qualifying effort. Again, I bet he wishes he could have done that in the pole qualifying, but Jake Fisher will join him there on the front row, backing up his pole qualifying at the very least in car 84. Starting from 3rd, you'll find Brian Mercurio in car 41. Matt Kemp joins us in car 54 tonight from the 4th spot. Corey Heim will roll off from 5th. Preston Pardis in 6th, and a pretty much all-star row here, at least for this league. Cody Williams rolls off 7th tonight. How about Raja Karuth in 8th? Chris Wetz and Elliot Henderson, they make up the rest of your top 10.
Rolling down the rest of the field, we've got Christian Eckes in the 19 and Eric Hagg starting in your 11th and 12th position. And continuing down the line, Jonathan Palmieri and Paul Foti, I feel like I mispronounced those names. Tyler Payne and Kevin Reed rounding out 15th and 16th position. And rolling on further down the field, we have got Tony Breidinger, one of the ARCA drivers in this field, and Jay Cook in 17th and the 18th position. And then we've also got Parker Chase in the 26, Ryan Pistana in the 43, starting 19th and 20th position.
11 more cars join us this evening for Duel 1. Joel Smith will roll off from 21st. It looks like some of these positions may change, as they were drivers that simply did not qualify, did not put a lap time in, so they may be moved around a little bit, but at least the list of them, you have Joel Smith in car 9, Aaron Smith in car 70, followed up by Nick Olson in car 2, then Colin Fern in car 06, and Matt Wishart. You've got Austin Moore back here from 26th to 27th. You'll find Tristan Hagenstein matching his car number. Dylan Smith rolls off 28th. Starting 29th, it's John Bower. 30th, Peter Acumano. And finally, caboose on the field, Sean Farr, as we get ready to roll off this evening. We talked about weather already, but let's recap once more, as that, those tenths of degrees sometimes are very important. The air temp has come down from 77.8 to 77.7 degrees. Not going to make much of a difference, but, well, we noted it at the very least.
Definitely. I mean, air temp and whatnot when it comes to Daytona isn't exactly the biggest factor, but you know what is the biggest factor? The draft. We're going to see a lot of drivers that are just going to try to stick with it, or maybe fall back a little bit and sandbag. It's a common strategy when it comes to Daytona, but considering this is about the length of an A-class fixed race, I'm not sure how long these drivers are going to sit back and actually try to wait it out, especially when a lot of them are not locked into the field tonight.
Let's talk about this track map, and I think it's common knowledge at this point, for those of us that are familiar with oval racing, there's really only one part of this racetrack that matters when it comes to winning these races, and it is circled right there. From turn 4 to the start-finish line, that's going to be a very important piece of racetrack this evening, and of course next Wednesday as well for the actual points race. That's prime real estate here at Daytona International Speedway. We'll see a lot of moves made from turn 4 to the start-finish line, and I'm sure we'll see moves being set up in the laps coming to the checkered flag this evening in duel number 1, and as well as duel number 2. Leighton Zabeel, Jake Fisher, your front row as we get ready to send them off for duel number 1 for the Untitled Friend League. From Daytona International Speedway, 30 laps the distance. Let's hear them roar. Into turns 1 and 2, the whole lot of them. 3 wide already in the middle of the pack. Rajah Caruth way up high. Preston Pardus in the middle. You've got the 19 of Eckes moving around, giving some help there to Caruth. Second in line on the top side, that's Matt Kemp pushing Jake Fisher out to a strong lead as the 25 and 41 of Sabila Mercurio fall back on this opening lap. And already that number 84 is looking strong.
They are absolutely ripping around the top side. Look at these top 4 drivers. They are pulling away from the rest of the pack as everyone is just spreading out, trying to find a line. And we've got a caution coming off of turn 4 in the tri-oval. Big wreck.
Caution flag already, right before we wrap up lap number 1 on the season. Tyler Payne involved. I see Aaron Smith down there in the grass, Colin Fern, Nick Olson, and some more. Ryan Pistana able to miss all of that, thanks to starting from the pit lane.
Definitely an interesting set of circumstances. They were all bunched up coming off of turn 4. It was not going to end well.
Let's get a look back as to what happened here at a turn 4, watching Tyler Payne in the middle of all this, and I think it starts maybe just a little bit ahead of him. Actually, no, he gets hooked by the 3. No, that's not the 3 car, but gets hooked nonetheless, and other cars just kind of pile in, not much of anywhere to go. A few of them taking small impacts.
Well, good thing about the next-gen car is it does offer iRacing's new damage model. So a lot of the hits you might think you took that are detrimental, you might honestly be able to get away with it at some point.
It was Kevin Reed in car 10 that turns around the 18 car right there. That contact just spins him right round. And for some of these guys, just nowhere to go, including Sean Farr. He's locked into Daytona next week, but, well, that kind of big hit is not going to help his night. So under caution for the first time this season, and there are points up for grabs in these duel races. Just like NASCAR awards stage points to the top 10 in the duels at Daytona, we're doing the same here as we have got cars down to the pit lane. I've got to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised actually that we're seeing a healthy amount of pit stops.
Might just be damage repair, to be perfectly honest. Some of these guys are getting out of their cars, just trying to see what they can do with it. You know, seeing if they have any damage or anything like that. But I honestly, I don't see it too big of a deal. If we're on limited tire sets, maybe don't do it. But if you've got the tires and you've got the time, especially a super speedway, I say go for it.
And I do wonder if these guys have maybe learned that more fuel in the car actually helps the handling. You know, I've seen a few things around the iRacing community about these Gen 7 cars being a little bit kind of unruly in the draft at Daytona. I wonder if these guys have learned that a little more fuel kind of weighs the rear of the car down and actually helps the handling out. It's a possibility at the very least. You know, I'll be honest, I haven't run one of these cars in the draft in a few months. It's been a little while personally, but I do recall them being a little bit unruly, and even in a single car scenario, they can be a little bit wishy-washy on the straightaways, so maybe that's what it comes down to.
It's always a possibility when it comes to plate tracks like Daytona. Oh, I can't say plate track anymore. These things don't have restrictor plates. They haven't had restrictor plates for a few years. Tapered spacers. Well, I'm not calling it a tapered spacer track. That just sounds weird.
Yeah, a few extra words, a few extra syllables there for sure. If you're just joining us for the first time at Pit Stop TV, well, first off, thank you so much for doing so. We're glad you're joining us for coverage this evening of the Untitled Friend League. And if you're just hearing out about us, well, check us out on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We even broadcast over on Twitch. There's plenty of places. There is really no reason to miss a Pit Stop TV broadcast at this point. We broadcast all these different platforms, give you all kinds of great options. If you don't like Facebook, go over to Twitter. If you don't like Twitter, try out Twitch. Plenty of places to watch along. And you can see the links there at the bottom. Now, Twitch and Instagram, they share a handle, so we just have Instagram there listed. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Jake Fisher, your top runner currently. Matt Kemp pushed him out to the lead. And Fisher will elect to take the top side, it looks like, for the restart. Kemp down low. Caruth then will restart from third. Eckes from fourth, Sabil fifth. Corey Heim sixth. Eric Hag from seventh spot in the Firelight Esports number 89. Cody Williams back there in the 8th spot, Chris Wentz and Kevin Reed, the rest of your top 10. And Tyler Payne, it looks like, has scratched from this event. He is done. But how about some of the other drivers that were involved in that incident? You got Dylan Smith back here in car 1. Aaron Smith rolling off the pit lane in car 70. Jay Cook has taken some repairs. There's John Bower in car 64. Colin Fern as well. Nick Olson. We'll see how they're able to fare. We still have 26 laps to go in Duel number 1. And it's the CBD MD Chevrolet from the top side. Fisher and Kemp, your front row. Fisher up top, Kemp down low. The iRacing.com pace car back to the safety of pit lane. And Zach, we're about to do it all over again. 26 laps remaining in Duel 1. Green flag is out. Already 3 wide. Eckes down to the middle side. That's not a side, a middle side anyways, for the 19 car, right to the inside of Jake Fisher, and the 84 is sliding backwards. Heim there to help the 19. Caruth down to the inside of Matt Kemp.
Why are we throwing blocks so early?
I don't know, but it looks like a whole lot of fun as Caruth takes point down the Daytona super stretch.
They are single filed out, majority on the bottom, but we're still 3 wide, a couple of lanes throughout the field, as the middle line actually seems to be coming together a little bit.
On board with Kemp out of Michigan, you can see right behind. That's Eckes in the number 18 car. Caruth down low. He's going to fall in behind the 19, and we've got one spinning. And we have got Nick Olson spinning around, the 10 of Kevin Reed, the 42 of Preston Pardis. Excuse me, the who was that? Olson did not spin around, but we do have a caution flag once again. Lap 6 now. And, well, it's a slow and steady start for us here at Daytona.
Well, you know what they say, slow and steady wins the race.
In this case, I think you do want to go a little bit faster, but some trouble out of turn 4 once again. And, Zach, you've got more experience than I do, at least recently. How tough is it to push with these cars? Is it about the bumper, the diffuser? What makes it tough?
Well, honestly, in my opinion, the thing that makes it the most tough... Ooh, actually, wow! I don't think there was anything tough there. Just a bad push off corner exit. That's one. It doesn't matter what kind of car you're running here. The biggest thing is don't push in the corners. Don't ever push in the corners. Whether it be, if you're going to push, you need to make sure you're locking bumpers on entry. Don't try to push on exit. The air is too disturbed. It causes the car to be unbalanced in the rear, and that's what causes the big spins on the corner exits. That's what we're seeing right now. You know, looking at the replay right here, you see the big run, and then just unfortunate timing that caused that incident. And you just kind of want to be able to use that aero bubble. There's a little bubble of air that kind of forms between the cars when it comes to the draft, and the weight coming off the car in front when the following car is coming up to push. You just got to make sure you kind of utilize that bubble through the corners, and then the driver in front can just trail brake a little bit, and you'll be able to kind of hook back up on the straightaway. But as for this incident, it was just a bit of a unfortunately timed move that caused them to lock bumpers on exit. And, well, the rest is really history.
Let's look on board with Parker Chase. Zigo's spinning into the pit lane momentarily. Palmieri also involved. A lot of cars actually involved in this one, a lot more than the first yellow on the night. The Slow River Blend 26 Toyota Camry goes spinning through the infield. And let's just take some more onboards. A lot of great looks throughout the entire field here. Let's watch from Nick Olson's perspective as he misses the entire thing.
Watching from the roof cam, you see him spinning. They're coming back up, and he just goes right below double yellow, checks up, and waits for the wrecking. They actually started wrecking into pit road a little bit, too.
Yeah, we saw that with Parker Chase and I believe Hagenstein in car 27. Let's see how this looked for the 42 of Preston Pardis. Just nowhere to go. Sometimes they stack up at a turn forward. Of course, Daytona is more narrow than Talladega. We go to a couple of these racetracks that are kind of this style, Daytona and Talladega. And Talladega is, it's 4 lanes wide. Really, you could say even 5 or 6 lanes wide. 5 or 6 cars anyways. But Daytona is a lot more narrow. It's a lot like Atlanta now. Both Daytona and Atlanta kind of share that. A more narrow racetrack that is built for these kinds of pack races, and it just tends to pile up quickly when you get one car put the wrong way. There's nowhere to go for these guys as we have another pile at that time out of turn number 4. It was lap 5 coming to 6. Now it's lap 7 coming to 8. I wish they were coming to lap 30, and I think the 84 Fisher does as well, but he's still got to defend this race lead for a little over 20 laps. We'll see how many of those, though, are under caution. It's worth mentioning Kevin Reed. He's been involved in both cautions here, Zach. He has not pitted yet at all, and he runs 3rd.
Definitely a great sight to see. You start 16th, you miss the wrecks, and you come up into the top 5. It's just puts you in a good position moving forward. I think he's got a little bit of left front damage, but just a little bit, nothing that's really affecting him too much. Actually, wasn't he the one that was spun coming off of that last caution?
Yeah, he turned Tyler Payne to start the first incident just by mistake, just kind of bumper hooked that number 18, and that time got bumper hooked by Sean Farr in the 22 car. And the Jones Utilities Toyota Camry is definitely seen better days, but looks like it's rolling smoothly. I mean, I don't see too much suspension damage, just that left front, and it's hard to say if it's steering badly, but...
Well, you know what they say, Andrew, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
Let her eat. Do what she do.
And even at Daytona, sure, you're going about 200 miles an hour, but you can get away with a little bit of suspension damage. As long as that car is aero-worthy, or at least close to it, you can get away with a little bit. So we'll see if that's the goal, maybe, for the Jones Utilities number 10. Drivers who have taken significant repairs, such as Jonathan Palmieri, who was involved in that most recent yellow. I don't think he did much spinning, actually, but thankfully he's back out there. John Bower in the 64, Chris Wetz, Aaron Smith, all getting up to speed and catching up to our field as Jake Fisher is about to lead us back to the green flag. Hopefully we're not saying that too many more times in this first duel. We're going to encroach on duel number 2 here soon, but down to the restart zone. And Fisher is going to turn things back over to green flag racing. One more time, let's give it a go. Lap number 9 of 30, green flag. Down the Daytona Super Stretch, we have racing side by side for 3rd on back. And it looks like Eck is going to be the first one to drop in line behind Corey Heim. 5 cars strong on the top side now as it's Henderson and Carruth battling side by side. Henderson down low, Carruth up top. It looks like Kemp is going to fall in line behind the 37 car to help. And it's the 41 of Mercurio helping Carruth, but a few car lengths back down the tri-oval. And here we go. Carruth now down to the inside.
I think Carruth actually got a little forced out there. He tried to fall in line. He swerved after he hit Eckes a little bit. But I try to hop back up on that top line because the momentum is forming up there as Preston Pardis goes purple.
Yeah, we're not used to seeing this top-line dominance in NASCAR drafting at all, really, on iRacing. Whether it's the Cup car, the Xfinity car, the truck, or even the ARCA car, we're just not used to this kind of thing. So these guys, they've had some time to learn for sure. But it's always kind of a surprise to see this top-line dominance at a place like Daytona. And right now, Carruth is on the wrong side of that as Eckes goes by. Mercurio going to draw alongside.
The big thing about being on the top two is that there's a lot of space that you can move around up there. You can get a little bit closer to the wall. You can hang off the wall a little bit. The big thing is you're allowing a lot of air to just catch the car and keep the nose cool. So it's easier to just stay up there and push each other as Fisher goes fastest. Oh, we got more people going fastest.
Corey Heim backing up a little bit into turn 1, just giving some space there to Kevin Reed. Eckes in tow. Carruth down low, pulling Elliott Henderson, Matt Kemp, Eric Hagen, some more.
We got a middle line forming now.
Oh, there they go.
Straight away.
The 10 car.
He's below the yellow line. Are we going to see a yellow? That is a hard hit to the inside.
That is the 3rd accident now for the 10 car. We'll see if this draws a yellow or not. He's trying to get that car righted. He's in the bus stop for the Rolex 24.
Has actually said that it is a 1-car spin and we are staying green.
So there we go. Troubles for the 10, and it looks like he's out from Daytona, not locked in, and well out of things now, but he still has time. These guys still have to run 19 more laps, and we could see literally anybody drop out of this in those 19 laps left to go. And again, we talked about the X amount of drivers. It was 20. I think one dropped out. So call it 19 drivers that are already locked into this event. Call it 20 again with Jake Fisher maybe. Again, the locked-in drivers into tonight are in red on the ticker, so watch those guys. Otherwise, the cutoff line is tentatively somewhere around 18th spot, depending on where these guys are at that time. And with a few locked-in drivers outside of the top 18 right now, we could be looking at Paul Fott and the number 88 being the final driver into this race right now, as Rajah Carruth was side-by-side and taking over the race lead momentarily. Across the line, nearly a draw between Fisher and Carruth for the race lead.
I spoke too soon because now the bottom is forming up and these guys are hounding at each other.
Carruth found some help. That's Matt Kemp in the 54 car. You can see Hag in the 89 for Firelight Esports as well.
They are 2x2 all the way back in this whole pack as you've got Raja just holding back a little bit. He's just off the lead cars, but Kemp is right there with him. He might actually get back up there and take the lead away, but will he go on to the top and try to go up there with them, or will he stay on the bottom? He's going to the middle a little bit.
On board with Jake Fisher, the race leader. Leighton Seville going to give him a big push through the tri-oval, and he's going to retake this race lead by force with the 25 there in second. Corey Heim to third once again. Carruth falling back a little bit. They can have some surges, it looks like, Zach, but they're still learning as to how to maintain on that bottom side.
I think the biggest thing here is that they're trying to side draft a little bit, and if they try to side draft in the corner, they lose too much momentum. So it's side draft on the straightaway, hook that bottom line in the turns, and just try to do whatever you can to keep these cars moving forward.
Down around the cut line, it's somewhere in this area. Chris Wetz, Preston Pardis, and Paul Fodd. I believe one of those 3 drivers, I'd imagine Paul Fodd currently is the last driver into Daytona next week. And we're going off of a 37-car field. That means there's technically 18 spots up for grabs. One of them, though, already goes to the pole sitter. So then you're looking at 17 spots from 2nd through 18th. And you got to consider who's locked into this race, but outside of the top 18, that's going to affect things a little bit. So you're looking somewhere around the 14th to 17th, maybe even 18th spot currently. Right now, it's somewhere between, like I said, Paul Fodd, Cody Williams, Chris Wetz, and Preston Pardis.
You've got a lot of these guys in that same area that they are all locked in already. You can see with the red numbers on the ticker that they're locked into the show. So it's a little bit of a gamble. Oh, we got to move for the lead. They're all going to the bottom.
He takes Corey Heim. Corey Heim goes down, Christian Eckes goes down, and they leave Jake Fisher up top to dry. And oh, Rajah Caruth gets turned a little bit, but they stay racing. They sort it out, and one car is on the bottom. That's Matt Kemp. 3 wide through the tri-oval, and they saved it. It took from turn 4 all the way to the start-finish line.
Of Kyle Busch in the Budweiser shootout. That was amazing.
They're not done. Caruth and Henderson having some fun, as the top 6 or so are going to break away behind this mess, or ahead of this mess, rather. Williams going to push here to Henderson. He's going to try and get that 37 car rolling. It's up front. Sabile now controls this race.
Kem and Caruth are still hooked up, and they're trying to make the bottom work again as we are back in. Big wreck.
Wadding him up. Eckes ends up turning I already forgot the car number. That was so exciting to watch. The 84 of Fisher. Thankfully, Fisher locked into the pole, I do believe. No concern there for him, I'd imagine. But Henderson taken out. You can see the 91 car. And oh, how things change.
Was one heck of a show for about 2 laps there.
Watch Fisher take this move to the middle. And unfortunately, I just don't think Eckes got the communication that he had a car there to the inside. Comes on down, spins the 84 around. And that's what that pile of junk looks like up onto the outside wall. It's unfortunate. Fisher had a run from so far back. And took a 3 wide. Looked like it was all going to work out. And a lot of cars end up involved in this. I know the 37 of Elliott Henderson takes a lot of damage in this as he piles in, really nowhere to go. Mercurio gets a good piece of damage as well in the 41. And it looks like the 71 had a bit of a spin there with the 91, so Wets and the 91 have more.
Hopefully all these drivers are able to get their cars repaired and be able to get back out on track. We've still got a good amount of laps left. You would think that 14 laps to go ain't really a lot of time, but you're at Daytona. A lot can happen in even just a lap, as we saw with this racing.
Oh, certainly thinned the field a little bit. Jake Fisher should be in the show. He is now 25th, and it looks like done for the night. Of course, well, he's already done his bit of locking himself in. He actually may head back out as he climbs back aboard the number 84 car. But a lot of cars in the pit lane. One of them leaving there is Colin Fern in car 06.
If I was Jake Fisher, I'd be counting my blessings. Qualified on pole, so the wreck doesn't exactly matter. And he can just cruise if he wants to.
There's Pardis in the pit lane. Parker Chase leaves the pits. Mercurio is in. Bower. Wets is in. Henderson's still there, as Dylan Smith will be leaving. We'll have somewhere around 11 laps to go, it looks like, for the restart. Your race leader now, Leighton Sabile. Corey Heim second, then Jay Cook, Rajah Caruth, and Matt Kemp, your top 5. But this is going to be a really murky situation for the cut line. You can see the red numbers on the left side of the screen. Those guys are locked in by their season position last season. So Eckes is in. Fisher should be in from the pole tonight. Wets is in. And then Smith as well. So that's 4 spots. So elevate that cut line from 18th to 14th, I believe. So that means that Austin Moore would currently be the last car in on the cut line, but he's already locked in. So you're looking at Aaron Smith, it looks like, the last car in. Colin Fern, the first car out, if our math is correct.
Look, Andrew, I don't do good at math, so I can't help in that category.
I believe that's correct, and actually now it looks like maybe, well, yeah, it should be Aaron Smith still. I think he just passed Fod for a moment, but Aaron Smith, the last car in for the moment. Colin Fern, the first car out. Here's a look at Aaron Smith. He's just been riding in the back, keeping that signature yellow Chevrolet clean. And actually, Colin Fern that time pitted. So now you're looking at possibly Parker Chase, the first car out. So what do you do here, Zach? If you're Parker Chase, how do you get yourself into the show?
I pray. I pray. It's Daytona. You can't do anything but pray. Just kind of bide your time. Don't make any moves that are unnecessary. Just stick with the line that works the best. If the top line's rolling, then stick with the top line. But don't give up too much track position. The draft is immensely helpful, but it's not going to work for you if you're not going to try to make the effort to keep that track position.
And of course, let's be clear here, it's not just Chase racing his way in. He's got everybody behind him that is an open driver in this race trying to find their way into the show next week as well. They've all got to try and get to the 70 car currently. We'll try and monitor that as best as we can. Of course, there's some fluidity to that situation. But what we do know is car 25 is your race leader as he bump drafts the pace car a little bit through turns 3 and 4. Leighton Sabile will get this race restarted here momentarily. Corey Heim from the second spot on the inside. And we will have ourselves a race once more. It'll be 11 laps to go at the drop of the green flag into the Geico restart zone, and we're back racing at Daytona. One car down low, that's Jay Cook, headed backwards quickly. Everybody else got in line. Perfect choreography off of the start there. Ryan Pastana jumps in. And the first side-by-side is back here around Sean Farr, John Palmieri, and Palmieri goes down to the inside in car 3. He makes a move.
That was a very, very quick jump. You know, if you want to start moving to the front, form the bottom line now, because if you wait 5 more laps, it's not going to be able to happen.
And let's not forget that even the locked-in drivers tonight are racing for their starting spot in next week's season opener here at Daytona. They want to start further towards the front and control that race if they can. Palmieri trying to move his way up as here comes the 43 of Pastana down to the bottom side to block.
They are all moving to the bottom as Kemp is now going to the bottom as well, starting to lead the charge. Caruth side drafting him, trying to make sure that that bottom line goes absolutely nowhere.
Raja stays up top ultimately, but yeah, that was an interesting moment as there we go, the 43 of Pastana down to the inside of Kemp. Working that double yellow line.
That is that side draft at work. He cut the momentum of Kemp, and the bottom line said, nope, we're not going to wait for you. You're going straight to the back.
On board briefly with Paul Fodd. He may now be our driver in the final transfer spot. And it looks like he's racing for it with Preston Pardis potentially, who's right behind him.
We've got 9 laps to go. Anything can happen.
And the best part is, you know, we can see quickly who's in and out, who's locked in and who's not. But these guys, they have no clue. They're all just trying to race. They're just trying to better their position as best as they can and try to hang on for the remainder of these 30 laps. So you've got a lot of these guys. They have no clue what the situation is. They don't really care. They just know they've got to go towards the front and try to get the best position they can. That's what I love about the situation currently, especially in iRacing in general. A lot of these guys, they don't know all the ins and outs. They're just trying to race.
We got this bottom line. They are really starting to push. You've got the 43 of Pastana leading that line, and he is starting to gain. He's up there with Raja Caruth now.
I mean, Jonathan Palmieri is pushing the ever-living daylights out of that car, getting him all kinds of squirrely down the back straightaway that time. Now 8 laps to go, and oh man, the 3 nearly turned the 43 that time.
That's where you got to make sure you keep on just being easy with the pushing. Don't push too hard. Don't push in the tri-oval. Don't push in the corners. Push in the straight line. If you have the guts to do it, you can go ahead and push in these corners, but you got to make sure that you are steady, you are straight, and you are not pushing on the quarter panel. You push on the quarter panel, well, you know, we've all seen the big one at Daytona.
And I'm sure we're going to see one here in these last few laps. And look at the lockup. Wow.
That's what I'm talking about, pushing in the
tandem.
Corners.
Oh, and that almost turns Pastana. The 3 hangs on of Palmieri. Wow, that was close. Now, side-by-side contact. Raja moved down for a moment. And Pastana was up to 3rd for a hair.
They are really going for it. You can see there, Palmieri is just all over the racetrack trying to make sure that he stays in line with Pastana. And they are
Sabile just backed up. I think Corey Heim got him loose.
They are bumper to bumper of the top 3.
We've got ourselves a race up front. Palmieri pushing the ever-living daylights out of the back bumper of the 43 car of Pastana. Corey Heim pushing the 25 of Sabile, and look at that. Cody Williams backs up on the bottom side. That's going to hurt that run for the 43 and 3. That backs up the 27 of Hagenstein, the 37 of Henderson.
You got to think, are these guys up here on the top like Caruth? That's exactly what I was about to think about. Is he going to go to the bottom and try to jump on that line early? Oh, we got a caution on the racetrack. Caution on the racetrack.
Yellow's out, and Dylan Smith in the background. And quickly, that changes literally everything about this situation.
My goodness. Oh, you can see the suspension damage on the right front of that car. He does not look like he's going to be able to continue in this race tonight.
We're going to have ourselves a shootout here under the lights at Daytona for duel number 1. Unfortunately, car 1 is looking like he's out of things. As he gets...
say green, white, checkered. Or
well, we'll see. It might be 3. It could be 3 to go. We'll see. But this is Dylan Smith's issue, and I definitely think there's other cars involved. I saw the 71. Yeah, 71 gets turned there by Parker Chase. So Chris Wetz up the racetrack. Chase gets more so involved there as the one of Smith comes in, and they both take big impacts there to the outside wall.
That stack up on the bottom that you were talking about, Andrew. They backed up a little bit, and it caused an accordion effect, and these drivers are paying the price for it.
Yeah, they really, really backed up. Let's see if we can kind of scout this out from the 71 car's perspective. And you're not going to see much. What you are going to see is the 91 suddenly get a lot larger in front of this 71 of Chris Wetz. Right around here, they have that big checkup start. And you can see he gets to him there and then just gets to him one more time, and that turns him around. And unfortunately, that is quite a bit of damage for the 71 car.
It's also unfortunate for these guys that are still trying to make the show, and, you know, their race is pretty much over if they've got that suspension damage. But if they're still aero capable, there's still a solid chance. We've all seen what can happen on the last lap of Daytona. You never know. As long as you stay with the draft, it might just be in your favor still to be at the back.
Well, Wetz is locked in, so he's in the show next week. So that's good news for him, as is Eckes and Smith. Those 3 are all locked in, so they're able to rest easily. Fisher's locked in, so that's still 4 underneath the cut line. Make it 5 now with Farr, so 13th would be where you have to be, it looks like, to move in. And currently that spot is occupied by Matt Kemp, who is an open driver. See Fisher getting a wave around, it looks like, but there's a 54 car that is trying to race his way into the show. Henderson, an open driver behind him, would be trying to pass, and that is your cut line then.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's gonna be a doozy.
So unofficially, you're watching cars 54 and 37 once we go back green. Kemp and Henderson. And what's interesting is they're going to line up side by side. That puts Henderson up top, and we've seen the top side be so good. But in this short run, in this short term, do you think Kemp might have an edge being down low?
It's a strong possibility. So here's what I've noticed on super speedway racing when it comes to iRacing. The bottom line is good for the restarts. But if you can clear that top line before you get into turn 1, you can jump up top, you can defend that top line, because once you come off of turn 2, that run forms. Because they're building more speed on the top, it's easier for them to be able to get hooked up, and then all of a sudden they're training down the straightaway, and you're losing about 3-4 positions by the time you get to turn 3. So best case scenario, get a clear hole up on the top and get up there. But if you can't get up there, tuck in with whoever you can on that bottom line. Get as many spots as possible.
While we await the green flag, it'll be a 3-lap-to-go restart. Let's talk about Jake Fisher, the EPI pole sitter this evening, the Elite Performance Industries Pole Award winner in car 84. Started this race from second spot, led 13 laps, and unfortunately is now 3 laps down. He's not going to get himself back into a very good starting spot he's locked into the pole, but otherwise he wouldn't have a very good starting spot. But thankfully he can rest easily with the CBD MD number 84 Chevrolet Camaro. A big thank you, of course, to Tyler Payne and EPI for picking up partnership of the Pole Award this evening. And a big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media Simcams, SimRapMarket.com, and Short Track Weekly. Leighton Seville out front, Corey Heim down low. That is your front row as we get ready to turn them loose, hopefully for the final time in Heat 1, Duel number 1. Leighton Sabile up top, Corey Heim down low, and the Rajah Caruth and Eric Hagg. Ryan Pistana, Jay Cook. 3 laps to settle it. Your cut line unofficially between, and actually it's changed a little bit, but between Elliott Henderson and Matt Kemp, it looks like. Green flag will fly once more. Let's see who can race their way into Daytona.
Beal with a big jump on the restart.
Moving around nice and quick down to turn 1, dancing for sure.
This is what I was talking about, Andrew. You got to jump back up to the top line. You got to be up there. You got to prepare for the runs. As now you can see there's only a few cars hooked up together on the bottom line.
Things happen quick on these restarts at Daytona. There's a look at the entire field headed down the Daytona super stretch. 2.5 laps to go. A big move there from Palmieri in the 3 car. He pulls down in front of the 85 of Jay Cook. That allows Aaron Smith to go through to 5th. Palmieri loves this bottom side, it looks like, but it has not treated him that well so far.
Here you go, Andrew. 2 laps to go. If there's any chance of getting that
There
bottom
goes
line
Williams.
going, it's now.
Cody Williams drops down. He's losing spots. Aaron Smith drops
Smith.
down. Here comes the 27 of Hagenside. He takes that run middle, and he's going to bring Henderson. The 27 just kept getting gifted gaps, and he takes a massive run up to 3rd spot. Can he clear the 24 of Caruth? The answer is not yet, but Corey Heim stacks up behind Sabile.
Caruth with the side draft, and he jumps right back up to the top as the top line forms up even more. These guys now moving off of the wall, defending to the middle line. We're coming to the white flag, Andrew. Do we see them make it back around?
That's a great question. Henderson right behind the 27 of Hagenstein, and now Pistana pulls down to the inside to bring that bottom line along with. It'll be 1 lap to go, this time by the flag stand. White flag is out, presented by Whiplash Media Simcams.
It's the big question. When do you decide to make that move if you want to go take that lead away from Sabile or Heim? Caruth just sitting back. He's backing up. He's trying to get that run as Heim is on the back bumper of Sabile going into turn 1.
This is the look back from the race leader. The cut line, it's down around somewhere, I want to say with Nick Olson potentially, as we have a big crash! Eric Hagg and many more scattering down the back straightaway.
No help to Caruth now. It's just the top 3 all by themselves, half a second in front of all these guys.
On board with Rajah Caruth from 3rd. He's got no help from behind. And I think they might just ride in formation now. Sabile, Heim, and Caruth, they're all going to go off into Daytona and into the lineup.
Outside, is he going to take 2nd away?
Sabile's going to win duel number 1. And we've got a lot of work to do to figure out who's in this race.
What a race. What an absolute amazing race.
Well, we've got at least 4 below the cut line. Make that 5. I think John Bower in car 64 is the last car in. Honestly, I'm not too sure. Hopefully Palmieri can help us out because a lot changed in the last couple of moments. You saw the entire field go by, but here is your Duel 1 race winner in car 25, already back around to the start-finish line, and I'd imagine he's got a celebration. And of course, Leighton, I'm sure, rather relieved to be able to celebrate this duel win. He's, of course, already in from standings 1 season ago. But everybody else, I think, all the open drivers, certainly, they're a little bit on edge. Who's going to make it in? I don't know yet. Let's go ahead and check out the unofficial race results. A lot still to be figured out, I think. But here we go. Leighton Sabile in. Of course, on points, but with the duel win as well. Rajah Caruth is in. Preston Pardis, Cody Williams, Colin Ferd, Nick Olson, Aaron Smith are all in. Those 6 drivers can rest easily, as that's through your top 10. But then, unofficially, I believe Parker Chase is out. John Bower might be as well. So we've got 2. I'm going to do some weird math here, trying to figure this out. 4, 5. Oh man, we're gonna send a lot more out than I thought. So we've got 5 cars there that are out, and hopefully Palmieri can help us in a moment. But 5 cars there that are out here, Zach. That means if we come back to this spot,
Believe If what we just heard from Race Control is correct, the 88 is your last transfer spot into last week or into next week.
Yeah,
so you got everyone in the top 10, and then 11th place, the 88, is your cut off for everyone else who ended up getting eliminated.
There you go. Elliot Henderson, John Bower just out in whatever happened there on the final lap. Let's quickly bring in our Duel 1 winner and speak with Leighton Seville, who goes to victory lane tonight off the nose of Rajah Caruth and Corey Heim. And Leighton, it looks like you had a drafting partner there down to the last few moments. Corey Heim kept pushing you, but what was happening behind?
Oh, man. I mean, first and foremost, I got to say thank you to Corey Heim and to Rajah Caruth. We also had a couple other teammates there in Christian Eckes, Kevin Reed, and Parker Chase. And, man, that's just what we do at Hog Tamers. Like, we had a plan in place. I told them what I wanted to do. I wanted to start up front. I wanted to control the lanes, and really it was just one lane. I knew from all my past experience running these cars here that you got to run up top if you're going to have a chance at winning this thing. And man, we had a plan on pitting early on and just getting away from the pack and doing our own deal. We did that a couple seasons ago, and it worked out well for us. But man, that was a lot of cautions in that duel race. It was enough to where when we came and we pitted early, we were just able to save and had really no fuel issues whatsoever. I knew kind of orchestrating everything in Discord with Corey and with Rajah that we had a good plan in place, and I just kept telling them we got to keep that high side, and anytime that that bottom lane started to form up, if we would have just stayed in line with each other and just kind of helped each other out, pull them back. If you get on that right rear quarter panel, use that side draft up as much as you can. That was going to be the ticket. And sure enough, worked out well. I heard Rajah saying that they were wrecking down the back straightaway, and I knew at that point it was us. It was really just down to the three of us. And Corey has nothing to lose, as well as myself. We're both locked in from where we were last season, but Rajah didn't run any races last year, so our main goal was to just lock him into the race, and I'm proud to say that we did just that. And really, it's just a testament to how strong our team is. We really work well with each other. It's a bunch of good buddies, especially now that I get to work professionally with Rajah. This is just great. I'm looking forward to having a great year working with him, and more upcoming is a good season running in UFL again. I think it's awesome that we're finally getting our races streamed. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to every single guy that's watching the race right now. That's really all I've got. Other than, of course, my sponsor shout out to toughgoflooring.com for everything that they do for me in real racing. So if we have another clean duel like that, and we can get a few more teammates in the second round, I think we'll be in really good shape coming for the 500. So I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. It's like he had that all written out. I guess he could prep that speech, Zach, while he was getting pushed around by Corey Heim. Leighton, congratulations. Hopefully we're talking to you more at the end of next week's race here at Daytona, the 500. Congratulations once again. We'll talk to you next week.
Certainly. Thanks, everyone.
Leighton Seville with definitely a good piece to talk to him there. And it sounds like they did exactly everything they set out to do, Zach, and that's all you can really ask for from your team and teammates when you unload at a place like Daytona. With so much that could possibly go wrong, that's everything they needed and more. So, it looks like Paul Fodd, the final car to advance. That means Aaron Smith, Nick Olson, Colin Fern, Cody Williams, Preston Partis, they are all in, but guys like Elliot Henderson, John Bower, Chris Wetz, and so many more are out here this evening at Daytona. Duel 2, that session's already running, so we've got to run quickly. We've got more racing on the way here from Daytona International Speedway. Well, as quick as things happen, we're right back to racing here in session number 2. It all happens very quickly sometimes when you have sessions already scheduled. This is the green flag for Duel 2. Things are going to take a moment to acclimatize. We're not used to that happening. But, boy, we're right back racing very quickly. Down to the bottom side, that's Nate Stewart in car number 4. Ryan Vargas, Rhino, going to give him a big push off the green flag. 30 laps the distance. These guys are racing down the Daytona super stretch. We didn't get a chance, of course, to go over the starting grid. If these guys get a yellow, we'll go through the whole running order. But right now, Nate Stewart with the big push out front. In the first side-by-side battle, it's there for 4th position as we come down to complete lap number 1. Nate Stewart leading the race. He's the first open car in the field. Zach Nichols the second. And Barrett Polhemus, meanwhile, in car 79, he is doing some work on the bottom side, moving himself up, now 3rd, alongside Zach Nichols. He's getting help, though, from Joel Smith, the young kid, car number 9, a legend car star, and he is moving around.
Back bumper locked in, trying to push that bottom line up, and they are side by side with the 3rd place car on the top.
Timmy Pacioli, it looks like, not going to make the call for this one. He's already 1 lap down and out of this race. Morgan Baird, the final car that is currently running. See these guys wrap up lap number 2. Nate Stewart in control. It's Gabe Herschel alongside now Polhemus as the 29 moves up. That's Mario Ercolani. Nate Stewart leading the show in the core number 4. And Ryan Vargas sporting a brand new paint scheme and brand new number. If you follow him on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen the news recently. He's going truck racing for On Point Motorsports. And I'm sure car 30, number 30, is a big adjustment for him. But boy, does he look good with that number 30 on the side of that Toyota Camry.
It's good riding up there in 2nd position. Already locked into the show with the red number on the ticker right there. But he is ripping it around the top, staying on the back bumper of Nate Stewart as the bottom line is still struggling to form up and gain some ground and gain some speed.
Polhemus, the first car in line down there. Justin Malillo in line. Looks like the 6 of Brandon Brown as well. Well, now that we've kind of had a moment to kind of get back into the groove here, Herschel moves down to the 07 car. He takes over the bottom side. And he's going to bring the 79 of Polhemus. A big run now from them as the 9 car, Joel Smith, gets them all going. I was going to say we had a moment to kind of settle in now since everything was rushed there at the green flag. The air temp, 77.6 degrees, clear skies, track temp of 80 degrees, not much has changed. As the 7 of Jonathan Taylor and the 07 of Gabe Herschel, both cars that are locked in, they run side by side. Now here comes Doug Denice in car 40. And Brandon Brown up top, he's moving around.
Lots of shifting around when it comes to these lines, but as you can see, we've already made it a little bit further under the green flag. That's from Duel 1. And these guys have just kind of like chilled out a little bit, made sure that they're not making any unnecessary moves like we talked about in the last duel, and just keeping their wits about them really, and making sure that, you know, they're going to be there at the end. They're going to have the car to be able to race for it at the end when we get there in about 25 laps.
More moves happening up front. Anthony Rotello in car 5, he's up top as 1 car is slow on the bottom side. I believe that is Pacioli out of the pit lane, and yes, it is. Not sure what happened to him, but if we get a caution, he might be able to get those 4 laps back. Denice was just well inside the top 10 and looking solid, but boy, he has moved back in a hurry. There goes Andrew Schwartz in the 67. He's dropping back. A lot is moving around, and we finally have a bottom line. Herschel with a big run.
Now things are starting to heat up a little bit. Oh,
1 car spinning the back. And it looks like that might be Rahman. No, that is actually the 39 of Arnold Columbia. We stay green for now as he has stopped on the racetrack, and now we get the yellow as he's going to do a bit of a spin around, well, hopefully he can get back onto all 4.
A little stuck, but he got it going. He made sure he got it going.
Bit of a beached whale moment there for the 39 car, but thankfully gets back onto all fours and will continue on. But let's see what happened here between the midfield or so. Arnold Columbia here in car 39. Let's see what he was doing. So this is on board. He started, well, we don't have that number, but he's been as high as 18th spot. Currently 24th after the caution. Let's see how this ends up for him. He was right behind the 15 of Keith Sherman, who is 18th now under yellow. Denice falls back. Oh, and Columbia just kind of ran to the side of the 15 car. Oh, not Jesse Love. That was a big impact, I think. Big implications for the 21 car for sure. That is really going to hurt Jesse's race. We hadn't even talked about Jesse Love being in this race. A top prospect out of the TRD camp. And let's just see how this went for him.
He looked to go to pit road right there, but I think he knew that pit road was going to be closed, and he ended up facing a penalty for that. So I think he just stayed out on the racetrack to be able to get down pit road sooner. But that is a hard lick, especially this early in the race.
A lot of pit stops happening now under caution. I think the entire field, aside from Barrett, Polhemus, and Joel Smith, are going to pit. Brandon Brown, it looks like, might stay out as well. But Jesse Love, boy, does he have a lot of damage to his number 21 car. So he comes in for service. Nate Stewart down and away quickly. Ryan Vargas going to follow. Zach Nichols, Jonathan Taylor as well. So let's go through the full running order here. Now that we've had a chance to acclimatize ourselves, missed the chance on the grid, but Barrett Polhemus leading this race. Joel Smith is second. Angel Ortega out of the EPI camp. He runs third in car double aught. Brandon Brown in the 6th spot from the EPI camp as well. Looks like, you know what, that paint is going to confuse me. You see how there's the black on each side of the fender? It kind of made me think there was some damage to that car. Thankfully, no damage to Brown's car just yet. Nate Stewart, the first car to pit. He's back on track now in 5th spot. He started from pole after being the 2nd fastest qualifier in pole qualifying earlier this evening. Ryan Vargas currently runs 6th. Zach Nichols 7th. Then Jonathan Taylor, Gabe Herschel, and Justin Melillo is your top 10. Anthony Rotolo in the 11th spot. Jake Fluman in the 12th position. Peter Acumano in car 34. Doug Donice here in car 40. Manon Rahman there in car 15. Position 15, car 44. Daniel Dye in the 46 car. Mario Ercolani from EPI. David Cabrera there in the 13. Matt Wishart. Morgan Baird, that's your top 20. Just trying to go through the entire field. Jeff Johnson in car 47, teammate to Elliot Henderson, who unfortunately has been eliminated from Daytona next week. Keith Sherman there in the 15 car. We saw him briefly involved in that yellow we just had. Andrew Swartz in the 67. Jesse Love in the 21 car. We met him already, unfortunately, with that contact on the outside of the racetrack. There's Arnold Columbia. And Timmy Pacioli, rounding out your 26 car field, Zach.
Definitely a stacked lineup, and it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this race plays out. Hopefully, we still have a clean run to the finish like we did for the last duel. I know we had the last lap wreck, but we still had a clean run to the line. So let's hope we can keep that ball rolling.
Well, let's talk more about this schedule. I told you we'd talk about it at some point. Well, here's a look at it. Daytona next week, the Daytona 500. It's a 120-lap race, though, for the UFL Elite Series, as Pacioli grabs a lap back. Auto Club checks in for week 2, but we do have that 1 week off on February 15th. March 1st, we go to Las Vegas, Rockingham, race 4, then Atlanta, Coda, Phoenix, Martinsville, Talladega, North Wilkesboro, Kansas, and Charlotte. Zach, which round sticks out to you as your favorite?
Looking forward to Rockingham. Now, that is a favorite track of mine. I do like that North Wilkesboro is the day before my birthday, but I'm solid on Rockingham. I love that track. I love that layout. And for those that don't know, they just repaved it too, so I'm hoping they bring NASCAR back there at some point.
There's a lot of steps to get racing back at Rockingham, but hopefully it happens soon. We're going to do so here virtually, though, in the UFL Elite Series on March 8th. But we are getting ready to go back green flag racing. Up front, it is all Barrett Polhemus, Joel Smith from second. We're back green flag racing at Daytona. Side by side out front, the 79-9. Nate Stewart going to give some help here to Joel Smith. And just like that, one of the youngest drivers in the field is leading at Daytona. Joel Smith leading the way down the Daytona Superstretch. Nate Stewart locked onto the back end of the 9 car, pushing him way out to a big advantage. Zach Nichols in third, Ryan Vargas fourth, Melillo fifth. Your first side-by-side is Fluman in the 99. And, well, it was Fluman in the 99. Now it's Denise and Brown back here for the 7th spot.
Gotta remember the big thing we talked about in the last duel. Make sure you're being careful when you're locking these bumpers going through the corners. Don't push too hard in the corners. Straightaways are the best case scenarios. That way you don't end up totaling that car.
A lot more open drivers in this race, and boy, are a bunch of them in the top 10 right now. Joel Smith, Nate Stewart, Zach Nichols, Brandon Brown, Justin Melillo, Barrett Polhemus, Jake Fluman, Angel Ortega, Doug Denice. Those drivers are all open drivers currently. Vargas, Herschel, Rotolo, Acumano, Wishart, and one more, I believe, yeah, Schwartz and Taylor are the only drivers locked into this second duel. Currently side by side here is Brandon Brown on the inside of Fluman. Melillo hanging tight in the 5th spot, so that's kind of your cutoff from the top 5 single file drivers for now, back to everybody else who's racing. And we're going to try and keep you updated as far as who's in and who is out the rest of the field. I want to say Angel Ortega might be one of the final cars in currently based on how many of the locked-in drivers are below the cut line, but it's tough to say. Again, we're looking at about 18 cars moving on from this race to the 500 next week. On board with Angel Ortega. Brown now getting some help from Polhemus. This is down to the bottom side. 7th position, moving up.
That top line is still formed up. Absolutely so many cars up there running right now. It's going to be really difficult for this bottom line to be able to actually work something out and be able to get up there and run up there with the front guys.
Brandon Brown now bringing that 79 car back to life a little bit. As Polhemus joins your living room here for a moment, gets the 68 going. And they're starting to get a run now alongside Melillo for 5th. Fastest lap that time, Arnold Columbia sitting back there in 23rd spot. He was involved in that lone yellow of the evening so far. And boy, is he moving up quickly. He's up to 20th spot now, moving forward.
Squirrely, second in line down there on the bottom.
That's the 79 of Polhemus moving all around. He's getting help from Fluman, it looks like. Actually, no, that is I think that's the 00 of Ortega. And now Brandon Brown moves up the racetrack right in front of Fluman. Nearly gets turned around. Just out of the side of my eye did I catch that one as Polhemus moves up now in line. That leaves Ortega the 1 car down low.
That could have been so much worse than it was. They made a little bit of contact, got a little loose, but kept it all running good. And now Ortega is the one leading the bottom line.
Ortega, the first car down low. He's got Anthony Rotolo helping him as there's 3 wide behind. That is the 13 of Cabrera in the middle, I do believe. And he now slides in line on the top side. That opens the door for Herschel to come down and look to the inside of Denise. And Doug moves on down in the 40 car. So an ebb and flow.
Around. I will say, and I feel like you can agree with me on this one, is that this is a lot more tame than Duel 1 was. Everyone's kind of making moves, but they're still actually being pretty courteous when it comes to how they're making their moves.
But everybody
As I
had a
say that, we're
chance.
going live.
Yeah, see that. But everybody had a chance to, I think, watch that first duel and see how things went and kind of learn from it as Herschel is side by side here with Fluman. He's going to bring Ramen on the bottom side. And they're going to bring Doug Denice as well. Ramen now moves back up top.
I think a lot of these guys are starting to think, if we can't make up any ground when the initial run starts, then I don't want to go to the bottom. That's just what it seems like to me. If they can't get that run moving, then it's just a no-go. As we're still seeing a little bit of the run forming on the bottom, as you know, you've got the 40 down there and Denise moving up to the front.
Doug moving forward. To the inside now of Brandon Brown. He's past Polhemus for the moment. And he's got help from Angel Ortega, but that EPI double lot just is not getting him going the way he needs to.
We still got 14 laps to go. Anything can happen, though.
Also in line down low, Matt Wishart. And he's going to get a faceful here of the double lot. A big checkup down low again, but Wishart locked into the race. And I'll tell you what, Doug Denise, he's starting to move forward. He's now alongside of Melillo again, nosing ahead. Eventually, these bottom lines can get going, but it takes dedication.
Dedication to sticking with the line, or dedication to keeping your front bumper and someone's back bumper?
Yes, I think both apply as Joel Smith continues to lead, Nate Stewart second. Believe me, they'll get racy before this race is done. Zach Nichols third, Ryan Vargas riding in fourth. He's the only driver in the top 5 that is locked in. Wishart, the only other driver in the top 10. As now Herschel moves into the 10th spot. Oh, Herschel now falling back, bobbling around. Fluman had a big moment. As Jonathan Brown going to fall back in, Jonathan Taylor going to fall back in car 7. And let's mention Jonathan Taylor won the shootout last night. It wasn't broadcast, unfortunately. It was kind of put together at short notice, but Jonathan Taylor won at the Legacy version of Daytona here in the shootout last night. Definitely would like to follow that up with a strong running at Daytona next week. I think for now, he's locked in. He's just riding around trying to get into this race.
Got big runs forming as we're coming up on some lap traffic as well.
And it looks like that might be... Well, Jesse Love is the only car I see off pace, but it's not Jesse Love. So it's Pacioli, it looks like, that these drivers are going to lap. Doug Denice, first in line on the bottom side. He's going to have to try and navigate this.
Yep. 86 is going to hold that yellow line. So you've got all these guys moving up to the middle lane. It's going to cut their momentum a little bit.
Oh, Pacioli's going to cause a crash. Wishart involved, the 34 as well. And down to the inside goes the 32 of Wishart. We've got a big crash right in the middle of the field.
If you're Jesse Love, you are loving this right now.
Yeah, this gets Love back into the groove. Back into potentially this field. So let's watch this from Pacioli's perspective. He's getting lapped here by the entirety of this grid. Let's just wait for what happens. Oh, he got down to the apron, and then Wishart actually came down and caught the 86. And Wishart then spins down, collects the 15 car of Sherman, and they both go spinning through the tri-oval grass. And Wishart's done. Thankfully, he's locked in next week.
That is definitely unfortunate for some of these drivers, though.
Let's ride on board with Sherman. He was a couple of rows back in all of this. The 34 gets a lot of damage as well there. You see him go by on the top side. He gets forced in the fence by the 32 for a moment. And that there is the story of Keith Sherman, unfortunately. Thankfully, I think he's able to keep racing. It looked like Wishart's pretty much done by damage, but I think Sherman should be able to continue. The 34 Vacumano picked up a lot of damage as well on that. So it is game time in the pits. Joel Smith in the pit lane. It sounds like these guys have to come in and top off at least for fuel at one point in this race. Jeff Johnson is in. There goes Ortega back onto the racetrack. Sherman waiting on repairs. Schwartz back here in car 67. He's locked in. And now there is just one driver locked into the top 10. Nate Stewart going to be your race leader. Let's go Pit Stop TV side by side. We'll be right back for what could be a 7-lap or so run to the finish here in Duel number 2. You won't miss a thing. Welcome back to the virtual Daytona International Speedway. I told you we'd be right back and you wouldn't miss a thing. Nate Stewart, your race leader. He's going to turn things back up. Green flag as the iRacing.com pace car heads back to pit lane. Zach Nichols up top. Ryan Vargas third. Melillo fourth. Denice fifth. We're back green flag racing. 8 laps to go at Daytona.
They are moving around up there. The top 3 getting single filed out right there on the top side.
On board with Melillo up through the gears. Denice gets hung out of the bottom side. He's going to fall way back as Melillo a little bit loose there on a turn 2. Denice jumps in line.
They are wiggling around on the top side as they are trying to form the line on the bottom, but that top side looks way too powerful.
Rotolo, the first car down low. He's getting help here from Ramen. Moving up. As here comes Denice to help. He's going to drop down in line. And that actually is huge for Rotolo and everybody else down low. The 13 of Cabrera, as he actually almost gets turned there by Jonathan Taylor. Thankfully, no crash, no spin. But now Cabrera is going to fall back, trying to get back in line. Falls back in front of Herschel. That's going to back up the 39 car as well of Columbia.
Jonathan Taylor, though, he got onto the apron. He got really loose. I'm really surprised that he was able to keep that car, keep a handle on it, actually.
There's a look at Denice side by side with Brandon Brown. Denice in the blue and black 40 car, now side by side with Fluman in the red and white number 99.
Beautiful Coca-Cola scheme, might I add.
I just don't know if these guys have got enough time to really get that bottom line rolling like we saw earlier. I don't know if it's tire temp or just organization or what's going on, but it seems like it takes about 10 laps for that bottom side to really get going.
We got a solid 6 laps. You never know. You might see these guys start jumping down. It's a definite possibility, especially when it comes down to the white flag. You might see some guys back up, like we saw Raja Karuth do. We saw him back up on that last lap. Oh, we got a wreck in turn 2.
Angel Ortega involved in 0-0. And Sherman involved as well. And we stay green up front.
No,
now we get the yellow.
Well, we're setting it up for another shootout, just like last one.
There's Sherman in the 15 car. He's got a lot of damage. Ortega also involved. And he's just trying to get back to the pit lane. I got a feeling that Acumano may have been involved as well. So we'll take a look back. So we'll watch the 0-0 of Angel Ortega. He's side by side here, 3 wide actually, as Jesse Love comes down off the wall. Ortega moves up, and Sherman, it looks like, is just going to hook the 0-0, and they wadded up in the outside wall all on their own. And thankfully, Acumano actually got by scot-free. It's a bit more of... it's really one of the weirder accidents we've seen so far this evening. Watch this again. The red 0-0, the blue 15. There's contact there.
A little bit of moving around. Just the slightest amount of contact, but that's all it really takes at Daytona. Just even the slightest amount can cause the biggest impacts.
Now, what that does is really puts us in a bind. And once again, we're trying to figure out who's in and who's out. So if you've got 18 cars maximum that can move on, and again, these are unofficial kind of figurings, if you will. You've got what looks like 7 different cars that are locked in this race. Vargas, Rotolo, Taylor, Herschel, Schwartz, and a couple of more. Looks like 4 of them currently are going to be outside of the top 18. That moves the cut line very unofficially to, 14th spot. So you're looking at David Cabrera potentially being the final car in. And that, again, that is very incredibly unofficial right now. I'm just giving it my best guess. But I think we're looking at Herschel, Baird, Cabrera, somewhere in there as your cut line currently, I think.
I'm just going to let you handle the math. Just... You do your thing, man. I can't even focus on that. I see car go fast. That's all I can really think about.
Urkalani then would be one of the final cars in. Daniel Dye as well. Cabrera, I think that's the last car in. It's tough to say. I'm sure Pamari could probably message me on Facebook and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we're looking at currently. We're going to have somewhere, well, it's not going to be 3 laps to go. I think we might get that natural green-white checkered here, Zach, and that changes the mindset of a driver. Suddenly, you don't have time to make moves, and what you do need at Daytona, of all things, is time to at least get up to speed, if not also to set up your moves in the draft. It can't happen immediately, so how do you make it happen immediately?
Restart. That's the best way to go. The restart is your best opportunity to make something happen. Stick with whoever is getting the good run. If you're on the bottom and they start going, then you just need to stay there. That's the best thing you can do. Find whatever's going to work for you, make it work, make it stick, and just go for it. That's all you can do. You've only got 2 laps to make something happen, and you've got all these guys who are about as desperate as you are. The only people who aren't desperate are the ones who are locked in. Even then, they're still trying to find any spots they can get to be able to improve their starting position for next Wednesday. So you need to figure out the best way that you're going to be able to do this. If you need to private message the driver in front of you and say, hey, I want to communicate with you. I want to be able to work with you. This is what we can do. This is what I can do for you. And this is what maybe you can do for me. So let's just try to work it out and make this restart the best we can have all night to make this the most beneficial 2 laps of our entire race.
We're going to have a completely re-racked and re-sacked field as Pacioli is 1 lap down, Taylor is out, Sherman is out, Wishart is out. Jesse Love is getting a lap back. He might be able to hang on. Who knows? He might still be in this race. We'd have 3 cautions so far for coming up on 8 laps, 3 lead changes out front. Nate Stewart now is your race leader. He's going to have one of his friends to the outside, Ryan Vargas. He's going to have Zach Nichols in behind. Justin Malillo will restart from 4th spot with just 2 laps to go. We do have 3 attempts at an overtime green-white checkered finish, but this first attempt will fall under regulation, so we could still have 4 more theoretical restarts. We'll see what these guys are able to do as we come around this time to take the green flag one more time at Daytona International Speedway. This is the first broadcast, the debut broadcast here on Pit Stop TV for the Untitled Friend League from Daytona International Speedway. The finish of Duel 2 is coming up now as into the restart zone. Nate Stewart gets us back under green.
That is a big gap on the bottom line.
The 45 of Nichols headed back quickly. Brandon Brown, oh, look at this. Brandon Brown, Joel Smith, Herschel, Columbia, all moving around. We've got a lap and a half to go at Daytona. And there is the 68. He gets turned.
That's going to be a caution.
No caution yet. We keep, yeah, there it is. Never mind. The caution will fly. This will force the first green-white checkered attempt of overtime. And Brandon Brown is still crashing.
If you are Zach Nichols, that is the best thing that you could see right now. He got left to hang and dry. It just did not work out for him on that restart, but now he has a chance to get back in it.
Well, I know you say best thing, but maybe not. You know, he's back in the midfield now. He could absolutely be taken out in a crash on this next restart. Let's check out what happens here to Brandon Brown, though. And actually, it comes from some contact with Nichols, I think, and one other car as Brown tried to go 3 wide. Right between Herschel and Nichols actually moved up and really causes this yellow.
Oh, boy.
Now, believe me, I usually subscribe to the ideology that the passing car is left to kind of facilitate the pass here, but I think Brandon Brown really did nothing wrong. I think Zach Nichols actually is just, he's just trying to protect his spot. Zach Nichols, he's just trying to race here. But I really have to believe that this is the 45 car that really causes this. I don't think there's time. Yeah, there was an opening and suddenly there wasn't.
Just unfortunate circumstances for Brandon Brown. You're right. He did not really do anything wrong in that scenario. He saw the hole. He was going for it. He didn't necessarily intend to lift because the hole was there. And then all of a sudden the hole closed. And, there's not much you can do in such a little time frame to be able to work out, do I hit the guy or do I spin and wreck everybody else?
Well, who's going to win Duel 2? That's the question. If you're on social media, you can let us know. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tweet to us at PitStopTV_. Comment on the Facebook chat, YouTube chat, Twitch chat. Let us know, who do you think wins this duel? Nate Stewart leading currently, Ryan Vargas second. How about Justin Malillo in the 3rd spot? An open driver, just trying to race his way in. And, of course, he's a big name in the iRacing community, taking a lot of pictures. In fact, Nate Stewart is as well. Nate Stewart has his whole deal with Apex Action Photography. Some fantastic shots for a lot of the iRacing, eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series drivers. Of course, they opened up their season technically last night with the clash at the LA Coliseum. Nate Stewart and Justin Malillo, both, 2 of the top photographers in eNASCAR racing, if you will. And I respect both of their work for sure. Those 2, they just might have a winning combo here at the end.
Malillo is hungry for a league win. He has been always contending at tracks like Daytona and Talladega. He's a force to be reckoned with at the super speedways. So it's definitely fitting and well-deserved to see him up here inside the top 5. And, hopefully he can put something together and actually make something happen tonight and put himself in a good starting spot for next week.
We are still under yellow. Not really making much progress. It looks like we're going to extend one more lap to be at least a 34-lap race. And let's revisit kind of who's in and who's out. We think anyways. Nate Stewart He's in currently by leading this race. Vargas will be in as well. Of course, he's locked in, as is Herschel, Schwartz, Taylor, Wishart, and Rotolo and Acumano. But I think Rotolo, actually, Daniel Dye might be the last car currently in the 14th position in car 46. Which would mean Jeff Johnson has got to do some racing here on this restart, as well as David Cabrera. And again, this is unofficial. Don't take our word for it. We're broadcasters, not race officials. There's a reason for that. But I believe it's somewhere around this line. And it could be a couple of spots up, so you've got to really be on your toes here. If you're a spotter or a driver listening to us trying to feed information, well, I've got news for you. The other thing I know here, Zach, is these drivers, we talked about it in Duel 1, a lot of them have no clue what's going on. What they simply know is that they've got to race, they've got to go forward, and I love that mentality. You've just got to go and get every spot that you can here on this restart. You cannot lag behind. You've got to make the best use of these next 2 laps that you possibly can, and you might have to re-rack them and restack them one more time. Who knows?
It's all just a matter of you look at where you are on the racetrack, you see what spot you're in, you automatically think to yourself, all right, I need 5 more spots. You move those 5 spots, I need 5 more spots than that too. But we're about to re-rack them and stack them and go back green, white, checkered racing.
2 laps to go at the drop of the green flag coming up in just a moment. And we are back green, the first attempt at an overtime green-white checkered in the UFL season. Melillo down low of Flumen is going to bring the 79 of Paul Hemus back to the front here. Rahman now going to help the 99 up top. We've got a few tandems up front.
They're trying to side draft and break that momentum on the top side. That's the only thing you can do to actually make that bottom line work at this point, as there are multiple drivers peeling out as we are 3 wide, Melillo in the middle.
Melillo falling way back. Oh, man, he might be having to swallow some reality here. He is way out of the cut line now. Way back there in 17th spot or so.
White flag this time by Andrew.
If we make it there without a caution, and it looks like we will, Nate Stewart is going to lead us to the white flag presented by Whiplash Simcams.
Now who makes it back to the checkered?
Well, there we go. A crash already in the mid-pack. They scatter. They spin. Schwartz and Acumano involved, a lot more as well, but up front we keep racing. Nate Stewart the race leader, and it's just this pack up front that has a chance, it looks like, at the race win. Who's in? We don't know. We're going to find out.
I can tell you for certain that puts Justin Melillo back in, and the 86 was laps down at the start of the race, and he's ninth.
What a way to keep going, Pacioli, but up front it is Nate Stewart and Ryan Vargas. Now Flumen comes down to block Zach Nichols and maybe get a run to the line. It's going to be a thriller down to the start-finish for Duel 2, but Nate Stewart is going to hang on for the win.
We were 4 wide for second.
And Nate Stewart goes to victory lane in what looks to be, I don't think it's his debut. I think he's run before, but what a way to kick things off for his season, even if it's only a dual win. And of course, don't forget the top 10, they grab themselves stage points going into Daytona next week. That is huge.
What a way to start the season. And I'm going to try to do some math, but I believe David Cabrera is the last car in for the transfer spot, finishing 13th.
That sounds about right. We'll get a look at it in a moment and do some of our figurings, if you will. Well, congratulations to Nate Stewart. What a win. And that finish, we'll get a replay of it in a moment. We don't have as much pressure this time for the the Duel 2 finish. And Nate Stewart is one of the most passionate sim racers you can find on iRacing.com. Running lately in the eNASCAR iRacing College Series. Just went back to school, and boy, what a decision that was. Things are just picking up for him day in, day out. Now a part of the team over at, I'm going to make sure I get this name right. I don't want to get the name wrong. If I can find it. Over at Rise Esports, fueled by Sunoco. See, Rexford Engineering, Apex Action on the side of that car. Congratulations, Nate Stewart. He deserves this burnout. Now let's go back and take a look at that replay. Coming to the start-finish line at the very least here, Zach. That was a thriller. And it might even tell us a little bit about who's in, who's out. So this is the last lap. We'll even go back a little bit further, actually, to what happened in the tri-oval.
I would just like to say, there was no commentator curse involved. Just because I said who makes it back to the line doesn't mean I instigated that wreck.
Well, it happens here with Rotolo and Johnson. Rotolo on the 5, he gets turned by Polhemus up into Johnson, and they all just kind of wad up from there. Pacioli, he gets hit, but he just stays in at full throttle. Melillo goes by, but the 86, we believe, at least for now, is in. Do we have word on who the final car in is?
That is commitment from Pacioli.
Do we have a word, Zach, on who the last car in is?
I have not heard any word yet.
Here's the onboard of Pacioli, then we'll talk to our race winner tonight. And wow, that is crazy stuff. And we think he's in. We'll wait for more official word, but we believe Pacioli has gone from 4 laps down, missing the start of the race, to in Daytona next week. That is huge for car 86.
Dead last, top 10. That is your underdog story, ladies and gentlemen.
And then coming to the line, we had a whole other fantastic moment here. Ryan Vargas, Zach Nichols, Jake Brown. Ryan Vargas started this finish, if you will, from second spot, and then these last few moments, he drops all the way down to 5th as they go 4 wide. Herschel on the bottom side. That's how they finished the second duel here at Daytona. Incredible.
What a way to end this race. Just an absolute thriller.
Well, let's talk to the guy who wins things here this evening. At least in Duel 2, Nate Stewart. I'm sure he's going to be a happy camper. And Nate, I'm not sure how you expected your return here to UFL to go tonight, but did you expect a duel win?
I mean, no, not really. I knew I was going to be fast in qualifying, and I was, thankfully. So I was able to lock in on time no matter what happened, and then was able to put it on pole for the requal, and then, you know, me and Vargas just worked extremely well together tonight. It was awesome. So yeah, we just stuck it up there, and, you know, I definitely didn't expect to win. I definitely expected to finish like top 5 or so, but a win, I mean, I knew there was a shot, but I wasn't sure. But I mean, really, it's all thanks to Vargas for just shoving the ever-living hell out of me. That was a lot of fun.
And how about that bit of friendship that's kind of grown over the last few years between you and Ryan Vargas? Clearly, it's paying off already.
Yeah, it is paying off already. Hopefully, me and him are able to work together in the 500 next week. I've known him for a couple of years. We were able to bond in a friend group, and then, you know, we got to know each other better, and we've been friends for a couple of years now. He's a really great guy, and I'm, you know, really glad to have him as a friend, and, you know, now a drafting partner as well. So that's pretty cool to see.
And what'd you learn out there tonight that you could apply to next week?
Just, you know, really it's a case of knocking the rust off. Took a long break this off season from, you know, doing oval stuff. So knocking the rust off, figuring out the draft package again, just learning the side drafts, who you can't work with, how good you can push when connections don't line up. There's a lot that I learned tonight, just, you know, catering to aero stuff that'll transfer over into next weekend, the FTF 500 next weekend as well.
And a new team as well. How about that news with Rise Esports, fueled by Sunoco? How's that going?
It's going really well. Glad to represent them in the college series. I'm also going to be representing them in a couple leagues, FTF here. I have started streaming a lot more. If you tune into where I stream at, you'll see Rise Esports graphics covering my stream. But I'll say not everything is announced yet. I'll say that right now. But we got big announcements coming soon. So all I can really say is keep an eye peeled on my socials, Rise socials, and, you know, we'll just see what happens here within the next couple of weeks.
There you go. Big news coming on the way for Nate Stewart in car 4. He begins the season on top here of at least duel number 2, and he will, well, join us on the front row to the green next week. Nate, congratulations on the win. We'll see you at Daytona next week.
All right, sounds good. See you later.
Meanwhile, Jake Fluman goes P3 tonight in duel number 2. Zach here is driver of the 99.
Jake, you had a solid run tonight, and what a finish, might I add. You guys were 4 wide there at the line for second. Just run us through how everything went, running through the draft, just kind of sitting there waiting your turn to be able to try and take that lead away and try to improve your starting position for next week in Daytona 500.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started 10th on the grid there. I had to race my way in. I didn't see the double yellow line until coming off of 4 there. I tried to go underneath Ryan because I seen the 45 of Zach was coming, so try to jump in front of him. Then Ryan threw a block, and then it was just madhouse coming to the line. My heart rate topped out at 144 coming to the checkered flag there. So happy I was able to grab a top 3, and we'll race next week.
Absolutely, just getting locked into next week at Daytona is always just a great thing. And honestly, one thing that we had been talking about most of the night is just how the runs had been forming. Everyone was kind of staying towards the top, but there were a lot of guys going to the bottom. Just kind of walk us through what your decision was with trying to stay up there in the top instead of making your way down to the bottom and trying to see if that run would work out.
Watch you guys' broadcast from the Duel 1. Notice the high line was pretty dominant. The bottom line could definitely get a run going, but it really only lasts about 3 or 4 laps. So it was like my stocks do. They just go up and down, up and down. I just had to stay dedicated next to the outside wall. That's what I did for 30 laps, and that was about it. Just trusted it and stuck with the game plan.
Well, Jake, you ended up solidifying yourself into next week's race with your 3rd place finish. And honestly, congratulations from up here in the booth, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Have no teammates, no sponsors, nothing like that. So it should be fun. I'll try to do this solo and try to get the best finishes I can.
Absolutely, man. We love to see it. Go for it next week.
Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
There you go. Very happy Jake Fluman to go P3 this evening at Daytona in duel number 2. And I don't know if we caught official word yet or not, but we can actually go ahead, and it looks like, here we go. Jake Fluman just might be the final driver to move in. I'm watching the spreadsheet that John Palmieri is working on, and it looks like so far... Hang on, not Fluman. He finished 3rd. I'm sorry. I got a little bit caught up. Fluman came from a little ways back on the grid, but I'm trying to piece this together. I think it's still a little bit unofficial. Let's go through the drivers from Duel 1, actually, that are moving on, that we know about. Preston Pardis, Leighton Seville, Rajah Caruth, Corey Heim, it looks like Nick Olson, Christian Eckes, Aaron Smith, John Palmieri, Chris Wetz, Cody Williams, Colin Fern, Paul Fodd, Ryan Pistana, Dylan Smith, Tristan Hagenstein, Sean Farr, and Austin Moore. There's a lot of big names even in that group, Zach, before we even get to duel number 2 and who else is moving on.
Yeah, there's a lot of all-star lineup drivers in there, and it's definitely looking like it's going to be an amazing race next week. If we see anything like what we saw tonight, I'm absolutely stoked for next week.
As far as duel 2, it's a little bit in the air still. But let's see. Let's go back through the results. In fact, we haven't gone through the results yet for Duel 2, so this will give us a good look. Nate Stewart wins this evening, 22 laps led, all fine and dandy. He was already in. But Zach Nichols, Jake Fluman, they'll both move on. Gabe Herschel and Ryan Vargas were locked in. Then Manon Rahman, Doug Denice, Timmy Pacioli, that's incredible. Morgan Baird, Justin Malillo, they should all move on, of course, as well. Really, it comes to this screen where things get a little bit more interesting. You can see Schwartz and Rotolo, they are locked in. If we advance here, we'll see 3 more, Acumano, Taylor, and Wishart. So that leaves 3 spots from this page that can move in. Those would be Daniel Dye, Jeff Johnson, and David Cabrera, I believe. So Angel Ortega, it looks like, is the first driver out, along with Arnold Columbia, Brandon Brown, Jesse Love, Barrett Polhemus, Mario Urkelani, Joel Smith, and Keith Sherman. Some big names missing out next week at Daytona.
Honestly, it's just insane. I figured we'd see a lot more drivers in that last wreck move up a little bit. You had guys like Joel Smith who were competitive majority of the race just get caught up in that incident. Nothing to do with it, just caught up out of nowhere. And it's unfortunate for some of these guys, but that's also the trials and tribulations that come with racing at Daytona. There's always a chance that some big wreck could always catch you, or just anything could go wrong, and it could just spell defeat for you and your team.
Once more, before we say goodnight, let's take a look at this Season 5 schedule. Daytona, Auto Club, Las Vegas, Rockingham, the first third, Atlanta, Coda, Phoenix, and Martinsville bring you into the chase. Talladega, North Wilkesboro, Kansas, and Charlotte. The full lineup of 12 races this season. I know you mentioned Rockingham tops your list. I'm going to be honest, that lone road course at Coda might be one of the most interesting, one of the most intriguing rounds of the entire season. A whole lot of ovals, past and present, but I think Coda might be one of the most, if not the most interesting round of this season, and I believe Phoenix is even our chase cutoff to get into the chase. So watch for Phoenix to be interesting as well at round number 7. We've got some really compelling races in the middle of this schedule. It's not a very long season, only 12 races, but that makes it perfect. Get it in quickly within just the span of a couple of months, from February 8th to May 10th. It's not going to wear on you all season. I love these kinds of league schedules.
12 races, honestly, to me, seems like a perfect schedule. You've got a good. It flows so well. You can do so much in so little time, and you're just able to not really, over exaggerate some of the tracks and just flood too much of a good thing.
There's a lot of burnout when you run 36 races in a full year.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at industry members in NASCAR, and sure, they love their jobs, but 36 races nonstop throughout the year, that can wear on you. And it does the same on iRacing, obviously to a lesser degree, but 36 races on iRacing, man, you put those all together over the course of a year, it can definitely add to some burnout, especially when you're racing throughout the week. It's not just the one time a week, I'm sure, for most of the drivers on the sim. So this 12-race season, it's a third of what NASCAR does in a full year. It is a nice number. But let's talk about some upcoming broadcasts here on Pit Stop TV, because we are done racing for the evening. Coming up next, tomorrow night, February the 2nd, we've got North American Racing League action. GT3 cars at Brands Hatch. It is round 7 of 8 for their championship. Things are coming down to a close. It's one of, if not the top private league in road racing on iRacing.com. Check this broadcast out tomorrow. If you're new here tonight, first off, thanks so much for watching, but you've got to make this broadcast on Thursday evening, February 2nd. It is going to be a lot of fun. It's tomorrow night, by the way, 8:30 Eastern, right about the same time things got started here for us with UFL. It is going to be tons of fun. Tony Kanaan has a team that is dominating over there. A lot of big names in GT3 racing in that series. And of course, look at that, Saturday we have a new league. We keep adding these new series to the channel. The AIRL, American iRacing League, Martin Late Model Showdown. Thanks to Tyler Payne and everybody else over there at Elite Performance Industries bringing this one over to us. We kick things off with late model stock cars from Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway this Saturday at 8 Eastern. And then Monday, we begin a new week with Payne-built legends from Lanier Raceplex in Brazelton, Georgia. And we're even going to Lanier twice next week, Monday and Tuesday, once on the asphalt with Legend cars, once on the dirt with Legend cars. February 6th and 7th, we have the HFL Legend Series on Tuesday. Of course, next Wednesday, we kick things off with the UFL Daytona 500 right here from Daytona International Speedway on Pit Stop TV. A lot is coming up on the channel, Zach, and there's a lot of places to keep up with Pit Stop TV on social media.
Absolutely. You can always find us on Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Twitter.com/PitStopTV_, and then Instagram, and obviously here on YouTube, YouTube.com/PitStopTV1, and Instagram.com/PitStop_TV. A lot of underscores, but it's always a great place to find a lot of great content from here at Pit Stop TV. If you can't follow us on the broadcast, the social media is the next best place to see it. We'll just be showing off all the great things going on, and looking at today's schedule going forward with the next week, it's obviously looking like there's a lot of great stuff to look forward to.
Well, thanks so much to everybody for watching. Thanks even more to our partners here at Pit.TV. Of course, Elite Performance Industries is a big partner of the show tonight, putting up the Pole Award. But how about our partners with the channel? Whiplash Media SimCams, SimRapMarket.com, where you can use code PSTV for 10% off of your next order, and Short Track Weekly. That will do it for us this evening from Daytona. Zach Murtis, thanks so much for joining me on the call for this one. It has been a treat. John Palmieri, thanks so much for bringing this league to Pit Stop TV. We've got something big in store for this season. It's going to be exciting. Thanks so much once again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow night for the North American Racing League from Brands Hatch Circuit in Kent, England.